day you're filling out an application form. You click Submit. The form is accepted. And just like that, your journey to becoming an astronaut begins. The first stage is the interview. A degree in engineering, biology, physics, or mathematics is required, but that alone isn't enough. They want years of real lab experience. Let's say you pass this round. Next comes the most detailed medical screening of your life. A hidden cyst, a kidney stone, a microscopic heart rhythm issue. They say, "We'll call you," and they don't mean it in a good way. Your eyes must see like an eagle's, your ears must hear like a bat's. You're perfectly healthy. You passed this too. Then the psychological tests begin. Your past is scrutinized in detail. Even an antidepressant prescribed in your teenage years but never taken can be a problem. You're locked in cramped rooms, made to solve complex problems. In the final stage, legendary astronauts sit across from you. Sure, they ask technical questions, but what they're really wondering is, if I had to spend 6 months in a tin can with this person, would I want to kill them? If you're arrogant, incompatible, or talk too much, you're eliminated. In space, ego doesn't keep you alive, teamwork does. In NASA's last selection, 12,000 people applied. Only 10 were chosen. That's a 0.08% chance. You beat the odds. Training begins immediately. What people don't tell you is this: the pie chart of being an astronaut looks like this: 10% explorer, 40% scientist, 40% mechanic, 10% janitor. I'm serious. Crystals grow more perfectly in zero gravity. Cells behave differently. They've even sent an astronaut to space while studying their twin on Earth at the same time. These are normal things. But space programs aren't exactly innocent. The Challenger disaster is the clearest example. The US marketed the space shuttle as being as safe as a passenger plane. Engineers warned that the O ring seals would fail in the cold on launch morning. NASA management silenced them. The shuttle disintegrated 73 seconds after liftoff. 7 people died. 1967 Apollo 1, built in haste to beat the Soviets. The cabin was filled with 100% pure oxygen, an extremely flammable environment. The hatch opened inward, making it impossible to open under pressure. During a routine ground test, a spark turned the cabin into an inferno within seconds. The astronauts burned inside. So, you must listen carefully during training, because those above won't hesitate to sacrifice you. The first thing you learn is gravity, and the machine that teaches it is the centrifuge. You train to withstand up to 9 g. G force is a multiplier of weight. At 80 kilograms, 1 g is normal. At 9 g, it's like having 720 kilograms pressing on you. You can't hold your head up. Even opening your eyelids takes enormous effort. Underwater labs, tight pressurized gloves, make even tightening a simple screw incredibly difficult. Some astronauts lose their fingernails. 67 hours with no breaks, no food, no scratching. Just you, your breathing, and endless silence. The vomit comet. In parabolic dives, you get 25 seconds of weightlessness. While your stomach trades places with your brain, you're expected to operate panels. There's also survival training in Siberia in case of emergency landing. And of course, thousands of pages of coursework. Plus, mandatory Russian. Half the station is Russian built, and in an emergency, you won't have time to open a translator. You pass all of this. You earn your badge. You're officially an astronaut. So you get on a rocket, right? No. Now comes the hardest test: patience. Agencies may schedule missions 10, 20, even 30 years into the future. You might be selected for a Mars mission, but the rocket isn't even finished yet. You wait for years for a phone call. Every morning, you train for a mission that may never happen. This is called bench psychology. And the world doesn't stop. Soviet cosmonaut Sergei Krikalev went to space in 1991 as a Soviet citizen. While he was up there, his country collapsed. Mission Control said, "We can't bring you back right now. There's no money. Wait." He spent 311 days watching his country from that small window. He went up Soviet, came down Russian. His passport was invalid. Worse, If nuclear war breaks out below, communication is cut. The station becomes your new home. If supplies run out, you try to land where radiation is lowest, but you'll likely be greeted by a silent world. Being an astronaut can mean becoming the last witness of humanity. At least you get paid while waiting. $100,000 to $160,000 a year. Sounds good? A Formula One driver makes $50 million a year, while you risk your life for an engineer's salary. Your suit costs $150 million, a single rocket launch costs $60 million. The water you drink costs $10,000 per liter. And you're the cheapest part of this billion-dollar system. You operate the most expensive machine in history for about $10,000 to $12,000 a month. That's the strange reality of the space economy. The day arrives, you wake up early, you put on your $150 million suit, and underneath that high tech outfit, an adult diaper. There are no bathroom breaks during launch and docking. You take an elevator to the top of thousands of tons of explosive fuel. You're sitting on a controlled bomb. The only difference between a bomb and a rocket is the duration of the explosion. 90% of a rocket is fuel. This is the curse of the rocket equation. To go farther, you need more fuel. More fuel means more weight. More weight requires more fuel. A vicious cycle. Note, modern rockets trace back to the V 2 missiles the Nazis fired at London. NASA took that rocket and put a human inside it. When I say you're riding a bomb, I'm not joking. 3, 2, 1, engines ignite. The vibration penetrates your bones. It feels like a giant hand is pushing your chest. Within seconds, you break the speed of sound, reaching 28,000 kilometers per hour, 10 times faster than a bullet. And then silence. Engines cut off. The shaking stops. Your arms float slightly upward. You look down through the window. No borders, no war, no politics, no bills, just a blue sphere covered in clouds. You conduct your research, handle repairs, occasionally talk to your family. Then you return. You appear on the news for a few minutes. Then you go back to your old routine, as if it never happened. Of course, if you're lucky enough to return. These missions weren't carried out only by humans, dogs, monkeys, chimpanzees, mice, insects, turtles, all were sent without consent. Laika was a roughly 3-year-old stray dog found on the streets of Moscow. Her mission? Sputnik 2. Khrushchev wanted a spectacular achievement for the 40th anniversary of the Bolshevik Revolution. Engineers had just 4 weeks. There was no time to develop a heat shield or parachute system. Laika had a one-way ticket. Everyone knew it. The plan? She would survive about a week, then be euthanized with poisoned food before oxygen ran out. On November 3rd, 1957, she was chained into a cramped capsule. When the rocket launched, her heart rate tripled from fear. The Soviets lied to the world. They claimed she lived for a week and died peacefully. In 2002, declassified documents revealed the truth. The capsule overheated rapidly. Laika died just 5 to 7 hours after launch from extreme heat and panic. Humans chose these risks knowingly. Animals had no choice. Dezik and Liza crashed in 1951 when their parachute failed. Pyolka and Mushka were destroyed in 1960 after re entering at the wrong angle. The Albert series, one suffocated, others died from parachute failure or rocket explosions. Gordo returned from space in 1958 but sank to the ocean floor when the flotation system failed. This, in short, is the history of space exploration. If you've made it this far, you already know what you need to do.